when we had UConn last week, we talked about the impact of Silas Demery Jr. and the transfer portal, and you said he's the second most impactful transfer. Well, we said let's make a list.
Okay.
Yaxel Landenborg. Who are the impact transfers that you guys believe have had the biggest impact thus far? Mash, I'll let you go first.
You know, I'll let Jalen take Yaxel because I think he's been phenomenal. I think he's top of the board. But unheralded guy, Silas Demery Jr., in my opinion. And the reason why, he's not going to put up gaudy numbers, but he plays a specific role for that particular UConn team where he's the head of the snake on defense and head of the snake on offense. He's done a wonderful job of feeling, not only being a passer, but knowing when to score. And that's probably one of the more difficult things to really get under your belt as a young player. He's done a phenomenal job. I also look at transfers. There's two things I look for. Well, three things, really. If I'm the kid, obviously money would be the first one.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
And at one point, you were the campus life.
Money would be the first one.
How is the horticulture on campus?
Don't even take your parents to campus.
Exactly. 1B would be opportunity of how I can get better for next level. Now, we're talking about the kids that have that opportunity.
True pro potential.
True pro potential. If I'm the coach, I want a winning player. And all those things have to align to help me win. And I think Yaxel and Silas Demery Jr. fit that model. Silas has probably improved his draft stock just by playing at UConn.
Yeah.
And when UConn practice, they have scouts in the building, so they get an opportunity to see him. So he's getting that exposure. So to me, the transfer has to be aligned in a proper way. That's where I think Kentucky has the problem.
Let's go to your alma mater, because I fell in love with the Yaxel Players era.
Absolutely.
And it's continued.
And I love what you said about Demery, too. Like, playing for Dan Hurley is not going to be about stats.
Correct.
No. But he did have a few games where he did put up big stats. And you're right about Landenborg. He fits Michigan. See, as a football school, Michigan had to convert its thinking that we need to invest in our basketball program. We need to accept transfers. And this guy, who was a defensive player of the year in his conference last year at UAB, entered the draft portal, decided to come back to Michigan. Now he's extending his game, playing more 3 than 4 and 5 that he did at his previous stop, and he's working on his game. But it's also propelled Michigan to be one of the top teams in the country.
Coach, you have the rest of the list to pick from. What a selection. Where are you going to go?
Well, I agree with 1 and 2 because I think those guys are playing for two teams that could get to the Final Four, and that's the thing what you really judge. I'm going to give a little love to what I think was one of the best transfers in the last 10 years.
Whoa.
And that was Janai Broome at Auburn. He was there 3 years for me, came from Morehead State, won 2 championships and got to a Final Four. Stayed with me for 3 years and got better. And as long as I'm, sort of sticking with Auburn, I might as well go ahead and give Keyshawn Hall a little bit of love. He was a Big 12's leading scorer, and he's just a bucket getter. Right? And he gets to the foul line. It's an incredibly productive play. Auburn's lost 7 games, 4 games to 4 Final Four teams, okay? And a game against South Carolina at home, they got to win. But Keyshawn Hall has been very, very productive for Auburn, and so he'd be a guy to get a little bit of love to.
We've talked a little bit about Duke Brennan. We've had a bunch of their games. Yeah. Bryce Sanford, you look at the year Nebraska's having. Duke Miles at Vanderbilt as well. They were in a dogfight with Florida.
I'll give you one. Melvin Council Jr., Kansas. When Darren Peterson went out, I think he really improved his game by being a playmaker and also being able to score. Had a 30-point game. We saw him out there at the Player Era Tournament. I think when it comes to transfers, man, I think looking down the road, I think a lot of these teams are going to have general managers that really understand their style of play and system to fit players in. And you can see situations where, like Kentucky I mentioned earlier, you got to go out there and get a dude. Yaxel is a dude.
Correct.
You go get him, and then you build around him. They don't have a dude right now, and they spent, I would say, $22 million on their roster.
And would you say right now the GMs that are in action, are they already putting together a wish list for next year? I don't know if they can reach out already, but what process are they in right now with current action being played?
Right now what they're doing is they're looking at the best mid-major players in college basketball. They're looking at particularly the juniors and seniors, the older kids. The second thing that's going on right now is scouting professional basketball overseas. Yeah. Because the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds that are overseas, that are all pros, have been training as pros, they're not worth the money that we're paying in college right now over there overseas. So those kids are all eligible to come. And the teams that have done well overseas, guys like Gonzaga and Arizona or Illinois, teams that historically had good European players, have actually had an advantage in the portal right now.
Let me tell you something. The high school player and the American player is on notice at this particular time. And I'll look into the camera and say, you better get your act together, because you got to come in ready to play. It's going to be a different route. I don't think all kids, even 4 stars or even 3 stars, will probably even go Division I. You might have to go to JUCO or to a prep school. The American player is in trouble. There's a lot more competition out there, and especially with the Euro guy coming in.
But also with the American rules, we could do something to help the American player. There are certain things like they don't play outside and they don't play summer league and things of that nature. But rules are different on every level. In high school, many states don't have a shot clock and they play 32 minutes.
Yep.
The fouls are different. The basketball is different. The lane line is different. The three-point line is different. You get to college, it's the exact same thing. Different minutes, different three-point line, different block charge line in the lane. And then you get to the league, it's a total different rules where you're playing with like, how is it 2026 and there are states that still don't operate with a shot clock? And so what you're talking about is the opportunity for the international player to get better younger because they have more consistency with their games.
I also think that the ability to evaluate and the ability to put to make those kind of decisions and put the pieces together. There's so much tape being watched right now, and you can watch in the transfer portal. You can watch good players against other good players, and so the teams that are. Why is Vanderbilt all of a sudden a competitive team? They didn't win any portal evaluations. They got a lot of really good players who made a lot of really good decisions in the portal.
The competition is heating up. The talent is getting more flush. You mentioned Janai Broom. I think about Yaxel. If he was still at UAB, if he was at Moorhead, I never would have got to really watch him that much. So I'm also happy these mid-major guys are getting that second life on the big stage.